Today is a pretty freaking cool day because I get to show you all my latest acquisition in my collection. One that, admittedly, I probably don't need, but if I wouldn't have done it, I probably would have kicked myself. Today, we're going to switch things up from having shown Dells a lot on the channel, and we're going to take a look at this Power Macintosh G4 QuickSilver. Let's get into it. Alright, so you'll have to forgive the quality of the video for the moment. I'm going to have to use the ultra-wide lens for this just to get it into the frame, given my space concerns at the moment. But anyways, yes, Power Macintosh G4. This is a 733 megahertz QuickSilver model from 2001. And I picked this up for 20 bucks off of Facebook Marketplace. In fact, I posted about it on the Low End Mac Facebook group, so if anybody is actually a member of that Facebook group and happens to have seen that post, well, hello, this is the same person. So this is the machine that I got. And as far as this machine is concerned, it's probably not one of the most special Power Mac G4s, particularly like the later mirror drive door 1.25 gigahertz dual processor model. So, you know, this is just your bare bones, regular old average Joe Power Mac G4, but still, it is fairly cool to have one in my possession nonetheless. And I just really like the look of these classic Power Macs in the clamshell style case, or looks very similar to that of the old G3s and G4s. I just love this look. Very early 2000s, I know, or for that matter, even late 90s, but still, I've always liked the look of these things. All right, now we can go back to the standard lens since we're going to take a look inside the computer. So I have done an upgrade ever since I've gotten this, and that is the RAM. I've maxed it out to 1.5 gigs of PC133 memory, which is the most that this machine can take. Unlike the newer G4s, this only uses PC133. Of course, there you can see the hardware modem there. This does not have Airport wireless, although it does have the antenna cable nicely twist tied over here off to the side, which is a very nice touch. And then there you can see the heatsink for the PowerPC G4 7450 processor. Again, this is not a dual processor unit. That would have been the 800 megahertz dual processor model. Neither is it the 867. This is just your standard 733 megahertz G4. And I know that I could upgrade this to an 867, or for that matter, the rare dual processor 800 megahertz, but trying to find one of those on eBay is going to be fun because I don't think those are going to be around for a reasonable price. So who's to say the scalpers aren't going to try to make their money's worth? And here's the battery, which hasn't leaked, although I am going to take the opportunity here to probably take it out of the system before too long, just to make sure that it doesn't leak all over the logic board. It has a date code of, I think, the 24th week of 2001, which would probably make sense. A lot of these components are mid to late 2001 date coded, so that would probably be the original battery to this computer. So I'm going to take it out before too long, just to make sure it doesn't leak. This has the GeForce 2MX graphics card option and not an ATI card, although to be fair, this is back in the days before the, I want to say the Radeon 9000 line. I could be wrong. That might have been out by the time that this computer was released, because I think, I'm trying to remember my video card history though. I know the GeForce 2MX was an option, obviously, on these QuickSilvers, but I want to say the Radeon 9000 was out by that time. I don't actually know. Either way, this is an AGP machine. It's got 64-bit PCI slots, and it's got spaces for, I think, 2 or 3 hard drives. I think 2 hard drives in this unit, in this configuration. It doesn't have anything in the other bay, so this is just blank. And then this bay would have had the super drive, but I have the original super drive. I think the lens is dirty, so unfortunately it currently doesn't work. It detects every disk as a blank disk, which is rather annoying. So I've gone ahead and swapped it out with this. I think it's a Philips BenQ LightScribe DVD RW drive temporarily until I can get the super drive open. I think it's the Pioneer DVR106D. I forget the model number of that original super drive. I still have it, but I'm going to probably dig into it here before too long. This is actually an upgraded hard drive. This originally shipped with a 40 gig hard drive. according to everymac.com at least. This has been upgraded to a 120 gig Seagate Barracuda 7200.9 hard drive, which is a decent upgrade, and it actually improves the performance of this machine a little bit. So that was a nice addition on top of what this machine probably would have had originally when it was new, which I believe would have been 128 megs of RAM, the GeForce 2MX, and the 40 gig hard drive, and of course the aforementioned 733 megahertz G4. Fortunately, in the case of my unit, the power supply is still in here and working, although I am going to keep usage on this thing very low if I can help it, because I don't know if this power supply has been recapped or not, and I don't really want to try risking it blowing up and destroying stuff in the process. So I'll have to see if it has or not another day, because I don't have the time right now, given all the stupid crap that's been going around with the you-know-what, at least as of the making of this video. So there's not a lot that I can really do as far as servicing or stuff, because I've just been so busy, but at least I've done the memory upgrade and all that fun stuff. So at least as far as that goes, this machine is at its maximum amount of RAM. I would like to do some more in the future as far as like maybe graphics card upgrade, but I don't know, we'll see. Now there are a couple of flaws with the unit I have here. Mainly this optical drive cover is gone. It'd be very similar looking to this one, but I'm sure that if I really wanted to, I could find a replacement on eBay, but I'm not going to do that today just because of the fact that I don't really need it at the moment. And then in the back here, this is a more drastic one. You can see one of the USB ports is a little bit discombobulated. Sorry for the shaky camera, but you can see it's a little bit broke there. The port still does work, but I'm not too really feeling good about wanting to use that port, so I don't know. I try to keep it towards using maybe the keyboard so it doesn't really get fluctuated around, because yeah, shorts are not fun. But otherwise, this machine is in really good shape, and there's no like cracks on the case. There's a couple of scratches from its normal life of being used, being loved on. Nothing that probably can't be buffed out, or you know, you could live with it. This is by no means a studio or museum quality computer, but at the very least, it is a functional one. So yeah, and of course I could probably do a better job of cleaning this and maybe polishing it up, but not today. We'll have to figure that out if I'm actually going to do that later on. So anyways, I figure in this video, we'll go ahead and give it a quick demo. I have done a install of macOS 10 Tiger onto the hard drive, and I've actually installed quite a bit of software, so at least we can get a half-decent demonstration out of this machine before we start branching off into idea-specific videos. So at least you'll get a little bit of an idea as to the current configuration on this machine, minus a couple of other last-minute installs I have yet to do on this before I put it away. So without further ado, let's throw this up on the desk, and we'll give you all a demo of it. All right, got some coffee. Wouldn't be a Jordan Wollery YouTube video without it. Now we can go ahead and power on the Power Mac. Ah, that lovely bong. Best sound in the world. Well, maybe I can find a better sound effect, but at least as far as computers go, one of my favorites. So now it's booting up. You know, the fan on the back's a little bit on the grumbly side, but I've heard a heck of a lot worse too, so I guess it could be worse. It also, I think it's that external case fan. I think that's also got something to do as far as contributing to the noise is concerned. And this thing, it does actually get a decent bit noisy. Oh, nice, it messed up my wallpaper. Hopefully it fixes it. Yep, there it goes. So yeah, it does get a good bit noisy once it gets running and you start doing things with it. So definitely not the quietest computer in my collection, but I wouldn't expect it to be. An item in the startup items folder does not have the proper security settings. Using this item may cause problems. Really? I never would have guessed. Also, it would help if I plugged in the keyboard. Jump cut! Alright, I suppose... my mouse is like super duper sensitive. Sure, why not? We'll fix that. Fix requires you type a password. Where have I seen that before? It's not like it's every friggin' macOS 10 Pro. I gotta restart the... Okay, I'm back after that little hiccup between macOS 10 and my recent install of software. So now that's fixed and out of the way. We can get on with the rest of the video. So as you can see, macOS 10 Tiger, fully updated, 1.5 gigs of RAM. We'll go ahead and hop into System Profiler real quick. This is obviously a Power Mac 3,5, and it's got 133 megahertz bus. I'd love for this to have 2 CPUs, but this config does not have that. Here you can see that optical drive. I had to replace that. I think it was a Philips BenQ drive of some kind. And then here you can see the Seagate hard drive, 120 gigs in size. Let's see, graphics and displays is next. And here you can see the graphics card is a GeForce 2MX. I would presume it's a 2MX 400. That's probably the most common variant of the 2MX, although I've also seen a 2MX 100 and a 2MX 200 as far as I'm concerned. I think those are models. Anyways, you can see my 1080p monitor is properly picked up. There you can see all my memory is basically picked up, except for the one outlier, that's a PC133-333, but it works. Nothing in the PC cards because it's not a laptop, no PCI cards because it's not installed, and so on and so forth. So basically all I would want to show in here. It's not too interesting at the moment. Now we can go ahead and get into some of the installed software that I have on this machine. I'm going to shortcut my way into the applications folder because I'm a lazy person like that, and I set up my Mac properly-ish. Although on my iMac I use just the Launchpad because I can't be bothered. So arrange my name. There we go. So a lot of this stuff I've just installed recently because I did a clean install of Mac OS X. So I'm still trying to get this thing configured as far as what I want to install onto it. So you could probably support me in telling me what I could probably install or whatever. So the most recent edition is Adobe Creative Suite Premium for the, I think it was the Education Edition. And basically this stuff's from the PowerPC era, so that includes Photoshop CS or Photoshop 8. I think it's Adobe Illustrator and InDesign 11, Acrobat 6 Professional. I think it's Go Live something or another. So we can launch those here in a little bit. But if we scroll down, I got the PowerPC App Store. I got Q installed, which is basically a PowerPC version of QEMU, or the really old version of it, not very good, but it works. We have 10.4 Fox 7450, which is correspondent to the PowerPC G4 7450 processor inside of this Power Mac. Of course, the older, the graphite looking ones would have been the 7400, so that's a little different. But the most common of these Power Macs, the G4s specifically, you'll have the 7450. Got an old version of Transmission and an old version of VLC Media Player. Just that I'd have a few different programs to run on this machine. So I guess we'll get started with, well, I almost forgot LibreOffice is on there too. We'll start off with LibreOffice just because, you know, Office clients. I only have this on here temporarily just so I'd have something, and it's also a little bit more modern, a little more compatible. I was also thinking about doing Microsoft Office 2008, which is the last PowerPC version they ever made. And I might do that on here as well, just for the sake of, hey, I have it, but it's probably not a real big requirement having LibreOffice on here, but still, it would be kind of nice to have something that's a genuine Microsoft product for running your Microsoft Office stuff. So whatever. So we'll go ahead and launch a spreadsheet, because why not? It's honestly not as slow as I was expecting, and you'll see the version in the copyright year in a little bit, but it's honestly not all that slow. And I say this because this is a fairly modern version of an Office client for a PowerPC Macintosh, while still having a good bit of the features. I don't know if there's any newer versions than the one I've got installed, but probably someone will chime in the comments and tell me. So as far as LibreOffice goes, this is version 4.0.6.2, copyright 2013. So yeah, very modern version of an Office client. So I can imagine that this would still, at least still, I can't English, slowly, but it could definitely work with a good bit of modern documents and spreadsheets and presentations and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and start a new presentation, because why not? Do something a little different. Play around with one of these pieces of software a little bit more. Here's LibreOffice Impress, and there's the rest of the user interface. So we can go ahead and do our presentations if we so desire. And sidebar over there. Then, of course, can't forget a text document. One of the most common uses for one of these open source office suites is writing your documents. Here we are. So yeah, if you ever needed a, well, rather old, but still frankly fairly usable office clients, well, there you go. LibreOffice ought to do the trick just fine. Works really well, honestly better than I was expecting it to. It probably works better than the Microsoft Office 2008 idea I had in mind. But I don't know, maybe I'll still tinker with that. I've got the DMG file for it somewhere and my product key, so we'll have to see how that works out. Next up, we'll do Q because, well, it's just Q. We all basically know what this is. Just your basic emulator. And as you can see, you can pick between a variety of different older operating systems, which, I don't know, maybe that could be fun to play around with. I wonder how well Windows Vista would run on a G4. Yeah. Sounds like an idea to me. I don't know. Chime in the comments if you want to see that. But anyway, here's the information on Q. This is version 0.9.0. I almost wonder if there is a newer version of this because I might actually update it. I might actually update that if there is. I'll have to look in the future. And of course, there's VLC. I don't know if this is the latest version for PowerPC. It's got the old Panther and Tiger brushed metal interface. But this is what I got, version 0.9.10 for PowerPC. I don't know, I'll have to go and look on VLC's FTP and see if there's a newer version, at least for PowerPC. And then, of course, there's transmission. I need to quit out a system profiler. So here's your BitTorrent client. Very simple, but transmission's well known in the community. So that'll get the job done if I need to do any kind of transmissions of BitTorrenting. Although, I don't know, maybe if it supports magnet links, it could be useful, but if not, then, oh well, it's probably the most useless program I've got on here, unless I like directly do torrent links into that client, which I don't know how well that would work. And finally, we've got our Adobe softwares, stuff and things. So we'll go ahead and launch Photoshop CS. I know it's not the newest version of the suite, but it'll have to do because that's what I've got on disk. I think the latest version that works on PowerPC, specifically I think a G3 or G4, would be CS3, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the newest version, but I couldn't tell you for sure. I don't really particularly use Adobe software in my day-to-day, so somebody will probably answer that a lot better. Let's say if we switch this over to pixels, do a 1280 by 768 thing at 72 pixels per inch. There you go. You have yourself your Photoshop template, or canvas rather. I can English. Well, I mean template, canvas, whatever. I mean, they're all terms in Photoshop, so you can E off. But yeah, there you go. You got your selection tool. You can select, I don't know, paintbrush tool. We'll select a color here. We'll do red. And there you go. It's actually surprisingly quick for being just the 733 megahertz G4 and a NVIDIA GeForce 2MX graphics card. It's actually surprising at how well it keeps up with the edges. They're actually surprisingly smooth. Nice and blurred. So I will say the Mac version of I almost said something else. Photoshop definitely is a good performer. Don't want to save that. And then, of course, we've got InDesign, which I've used InDesign before, but a much later version. I remember I had to use InDesign when we had our newsletter, and that was in high school. I remember I think it was InDesign Elements or something like that. No, that was the full version of InDesign. It had to have been, because I don't think they ever made an InDesign Elements. And then, I don't remember, I think it was like was it InDesign 11? I cannot recall. It's been so many years since I've worked with that software that I couldn't tell you everything. But you can see the default units in picas, if I remember. That's how you said that. Probably jumbling a bunch of terms, so I hope I'm not too incorrect. But, yep, here's InDesign. And I'm going to use it the completely improper way because, this is definitely how you use InDesign. So, I could still typo. But you get the idea. This is a very powerful program for designing newsletters and the like. I've used it before. I'm not too familiar with it, but anyways, don't save. And then I've got my application shortcuts. So we're going to go ahead and, what the heck, we'll launch Go Live CS. which, if you know, Go Live used to be the software you'd use to publish websites to the internet, or at least create the HTML code or templates for use on web browsers. I don't know what this would have been used for in an academic use case. Maybe it's just to teach people how to make a website, or at least the HTML file. Couldn't tell you for sure. So anyways, we'll make a new HTML page. Here's our preview. So there you have it. Inspector's off to the side. You get all your layers, colors, blah. Like in English, I can also be on because I don't have coffee. Anyway, there's a lot of useful tools for stuff from back in the day, such as QuickTime, SWF, Real, SVG, and there's plugins. So if you had uses for plugins, then sure. So yeah, I'm not too good with something like this just due to the unfamiliarity of having to do anything like that. Oh, yeah, you can't forget JavaScript. That was a pretty big role in a web browser, particularly nowadays it is. So yep, there's Go Live. I don't really know how to use it too much, but at least it's there if I ever wanted to play around with it. Not like I do much good, because I'm not going to be hosting any websites on the internet because I don't have my own domain name. So, hey, fancy stuff. So that's that. The last thing that we can take a look at, which is not too terribly exciting, is the web with good old 10.4 Fox, made for the G4E processor. This does take quite a while to launch, so I will be back. Alright, so I don't have too much battery left on my phone, so I'm going to try not to make this too much longer of a demo, but we'll just do a couple of quick web page tests, specifically, of course, my YouTube channel, because definitely got to have some self-advertising. I don't expect that this RAM upgrade of 1.5 gigs is going to make any major difference. Only the fact that it'll actually be able to cache the website more into RAM than what it could before when I originally got it with 768 megabytes. The CPU is still going to be the biggest bottleneck, which, as you can see, it's definitely doing right now. It's pretty much going to be at 100% usage doing this because old PowerPC processors just can't handle the modern web too well, despite everybody's best efforts with, in this case, a modern fork of Firefox 45 ESR being compiled for PowerPC. At least they're trying, I'll give them credit, but oh my god, it's not really ideal for these machines anymore. At least if you're going to try something like this, please I know it sucks, but please just get a G5. Like, if you're going to do something like this, at the very least, like, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. A warning, unresponsive script. Really? And continue. It actually seems to be continuing just fine, so we'll just give it some time. Oh, there's a beach ball. Oh, this is a mistake. But it is going. It is doing it. This is not very fast, but it is doing it. Come on. Come on, computer. Oh, hey, it actually made it. Wow. That only took forever. I guarantee you a Pentium 4 would have loaded this webpage faster. Maybe even my 1 gigahertz Pentium 3 would have loaded this website a lot faster, but it did make it in the end, so I can't be too hard on it. So there you go. There's my YouTube channel having been loaded, so that's cool. I almost wonder how much RAM this is using right now if I go to the activity monitor. Let's see. Be a good look. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mentioned the full 1.5 gigs definitely does come in handy for keeping stuff in RAM. It's not like it's going to make the performance any better, but at least it was able to shoehorn everything into the RAM, and it looks like we can still use the system just fine. Albeit it's not going to be the fastest, but hey, it gets the job done. Oh yeah, you really better hope you like smooth scrolling on this one. Yeah. I imagine this is all bottlenecked too by the GeForce 2 MX, because it only has a 32 meg frame buffer, and trying to do 1080p is just asking for trouble. Although it can barely do it, as you can see. It's not that great. So I've had contemplations as to whether or not I actually want to upgrade the graphics card to something quite a bit more powerful. I'll have to see what kind of Macintosh AGP graphics cards there are out there. I would like to see if there's a nice ATI card for this machine that would really be a good performer. Like I mentioned, like a Radeon 9000, but I don't really know if those are commonplace. I know they had like the 9200, but that was more of a PCI card for like the G3s and whatnot, whereas this is an AGP Max, so I don't know what's available on the AGP front. I'm not too familiar with that, so if anybody has any ideas, let me know. So that was 10-4 Fox. I decided, yeah, that was a pretty long wait, so I'm going to try not to keep y'all here too long. So that's basically all there is to say about this machine as far as what I've got on it currently, and I'm going to just probably leave it up to everybody in the viewing audience as far as what they want me to do with this. I do have some thoughts, but as of right now, I got so many other projects going on that I'm going to go and focus on those first, just because I need to get those out of the way amidst all of my free time and the outbreak that's been going on. You know, I don't know how busy I'm going to be with school as far as that stuff's concerned, so we'll have to see. But in the meantime, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go, well, catch up with some other stuff and get ready for whatever kind of hell stew is going to be my class week and all that fun stuff, at least as far as all the off-topic stuff that I will be comfortable mentioning on the end of a video. So with that having been said, appreciate you all coming to watch. If you like this video and all of my English mishaps and all that fun stuff, just, you know the button. And the other one works as well too if you want to use that one for whatever reason. Doesn't bother me one bit, lets me know how I'm doing. And don't forget, if you want to see more videos just like this one, or even better, or similar, or in fact maybe even funner videos, which, yeah, again, using that proper choice of English, there's always that red subscribe button down below. And until the next video, I will catch you all later.